The Pro Wrestling Stories Podcast.
Welcome to the Pro Wrestling Stories Podcast, where we transport you to nostalgic moments of wrestling's past. You can listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you get them. And follow Pro Wrestling Stories on Facebook at Pro Wrestling Stories and on Twitter at PWS_official. If you want to add a t-shirt to your collection, boy, do ya! Stop by pwstees.com. 10% off your order immediately, Corey, if you use the promo code podcast. That's it. That's simple. What is that noise? What could it be? Sounds familiar.
Does that sound excite you?
I don't know. Depends on which promotion it's with.
Yeah.
I'm Chris Toplack. He's Corey Rivard. When we hear that noise, or when I say the name Raven, quoth the Raven nevermore, I would imagine the thoughts that pop into your head do not include many, if any, WWE memories. What are your thoughts on Raven in WWE and what you remember from him?
Well, there are WWF memories. I remember Johnny
Yes.
Polo very clearly. There's, I believe that something missing in wrestling today.
The Quebecers, right?
Focus on intelligence, the Quebecers. And Johnny Polo was an intelligent guy. They had him on announcing, and he was a great announcer.
He was. By far, his most successful run in wrestling came under the character known as Raven. And after
Had a thing for birds, apparently.
I guess so. Yeah, because of the flamingo. That makes sense. What is it? Who knows? He's like, I was going to be Robin, but it was going to conflict with Batman and Robin. It's going to be weird.
Yeah, has there been a Robin? I don't think so.
I don't think it would go so well. But of course, as we know, we probably associate him way more with ECW and WCW as well, too, which should not be overlooked. By the way, he was on the Revenge video game, which was still a shocker to me. I think one of the producers or somebody who was shooting the wrestlers that day, I think one of the kids was a fan of Raven, so the dad actually put Raven on the video game, because I forget who's on there, but I think it's like Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, and you see, maybe it was Goldberg or DDP, and then you see Raven, and you're like, one of these things is not like the other.
That probably helped his career a little bit, though.
I think so.
You get to be put in that mix,
Yeah, I remember the game. That was one of the first times I ever saw him, because as we both know, we were essentially WWF guys. But I was getting into WCW at that time, of course, flipping back and forth during the infamous war.
Mm-hmm. Did you have Johnny Polo memories, or good Johnny Polo memories, or any at all?
Barely any. I just know that he would run around. I know he was great on commentary. As you noted, very articulate and intelligent. And of course, I just know that he was Johnny Polo dressed in like weird gear. It felt as though he was going to go to like a beach party and have a cocktail. That's how he was dressed up.
Cornette had his tennis racket, and he had his polo stick or club, or I don't watch a lot of polo, but
that would hurt.
Hammer, yeah.
I do know I would not want to take a shot of that. So yes, he found his success mostly in ECW and WCW. So fans were excited when he finally came back to WWF at the time as Raven. But Vince McMahon and the powers that be, they had different plans. Speaking of WCW, before we dive into this, I want to know if you've heard about the time Raven quit WCW. It's an amazing story.
I've heard a little bit, but I like it coming from your mouth, I'm pretty sure.
Well, I appreciate that. So the year was 1999, and things were going downhill in a hurry for WCW. Anybody who has watched the product would attest to that. If you don't, wear some glasses. They will help you. There was a backstage meeting that was held, which reportedly involved every superstar. So this was basically the come to Jesus there. And Bischoff essentially made it known that if any contracted wrestler was discontent with their position, they could simply leave. Legitimately just get up, walk away. The only person who got up out of their seat and walked out was, guess who? None other than Raven. He went back to ECW. He joined Tommy Dreamer as a tag team. They won the tag team championships. Then he went to WWF, WWE.
He did seem to have a way with getting himself removed from federations in general. Seemed to be really good at that part.
That's true. So, with that being said, Raven in WWE. Where did it all go wrong? Author.
Let's find out.
Andy Smith. Editor. J.P. Zarka.
Raven's WWE debut. Debuting at Unforgiven in the year 2000, Raven came to the aid of Taz, who defeated Jerry the King Lawler in a strap match. No build for this arrival. There weren't any vignettes. Raven just appeared, gave Lawler a DDT, and then left. He would start teaming with Taz after this encounter, ditching the, quote, the Raven Nevermore catchphrase for, what about me? What about Raven? Which, to be fair, did get a reaction from the live crowds.
I guess.
His pairing with Taz would be short-lived, and they would go their separate ways by end of 2000 when Raven would move on to the hardcore division.
Your favorite, by the way. And I think we should note that feud between Taz and Jerry the King Lawler in 2000, I was not a fan of it, personally, because Taz, with all the build, when you think about it, the human suplex machine from 97 to 99, there was perhaps nobody more believable. You bring him in, it's very underwhelming, and then you say, hey, and you're going to feud with Jerry the King Lawler. How about that?
Had Taz been on commentary at all?
No, not at that time.
So
no.
It didn't even work. They couldn't even work that angle in. Okay. Yeah, that's super weird.
It was basically Jerry Lawler. This was in real life just saying he was small, he was a midget, his words, not mine. That's basically what he was saying. But Jerry Lawler was not that much bigger than Taz, so really all the insults were falling short.
Yeah,
no pun intended.
I don't have that big... Good one. I don't have a big issue with this debut, though. I don't understand there's not always vignettes. It's a surprise. It's a shocker.
True.
You know, I don't know what the problem is here. You might not feel the same way.
I did not love it, basically because I was a big Raven fan, particularly in ECW, but also WCW. So for me, I mean, I've seen far worse. Keep that in mind. But they could have made this a heck of a lot bigger. So we're actually going to watch. It's only about a minute long. You can follow along on YouTube. We're going to give it a grade, a fair grade, unbiased grade. And of course, yes, a traditional system. So we're not saying, I'm giving it an X. An X for excellence.
A's or numbers?
We'll do like A's,
letters
like that.
A's or
so we'll go with letters.
Rating A. Okay.
So this is, if you want to look it up on YouTube, you'll count us down. We'll play it at the same time. We have great success playing YouTube at the same time. Not so much the network, which is fantastic, but it's Raven WWF debut, Unforgiven 2000. That's how you can find it. Follow along with us here. Count us down, Mr. Corey.
Absolutely. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
So here we go.
Here, setting the stage.
So he just enters the ring.
That Lawler has. Okay.
Jerry does not know. Raven is behind him.
But everyone's excited. Look at that guy in the front row. He's having a heart attack. This is working. I'm not saying it works after this.
Even flow, DDT, and the pose.
Not
bad.
What's wrong with this?
I think at this point, though, too, Raven and look at Jerry Lawler gets locked in the Taz mission. Jim Ross is basically trying to yell at the referee, hey, this is what just happened. The ref obviously not paying attention.
Yeah.
And he passes out in the Taz mission. He's out.
Why do you have to touch all four corners? Is that not, am I wrong?
That would have been the Russian strap match.
Wrong nationality. Okay. Yeah, I mean, at least he beat Jerry Lawler.
That helps.
Didn't he lose at SummerSlam or something? Right before this, I think he lost to Jerry Lawler or something.
I believe he may have. A lot of this I try and purposely blank out of my memory. I'll be completely honest with you. So if we had to, like, just judging on what we saw for that minute and 9 seconds, I know that it was short-lived. He enters the ring, hits the even flow DDT onto Jerry the King Lawler, strikes a pose, leaves out in the crowd. What would you give it as a grade?
I mean, listen, that's how it's done. That's how you come in and do it. I don't know. I'll give it because I'm scared to give it anything higher outside of a B. I'll give it a B plus.
That's not bad.
It's fine. It comes in. It does what they always do.
I'll give it.
What do you got, buddy? What are you giving it?
Maybe like a C plus. Maybe like a B minus at most, but probably C plus.
So what's missing here? Is it just because he's doing it while Jerry Lawler's in there with a bright yellow suit and looks like an idiot, or what's the problem?
I think that is an issue, but I also believe, though, as well, so Raven debuting and going after somebody, with all due respect to Jerry, maybe a little bit more important, substantial, an active wrestler, would have had more impact. Jerry was going to go right back to the booth after this. So to me, and I'm always about this kind of booking, where's the payoff here?
Yeah. And was there a payoff? Did they keep a little? I think they kept a little feud going there for a little while.
But even then, so you have the loner Raven, the loner Taz, and of course they don't need partners. Naturally, let's put them together. Why not?
All right, good point. You're right. It's downgraded to a B then. Raven,
makes sense.
Could have started better, but it was exciting to see him. He still got the exciting aspect there. Like, to
see him over there was very important because towards the end of ECW, we knew it was going to burn off and die. Unfortunately, we saw the writing on the wall. I know when I was watching it just wasn't going to happen. So Raven joins WWE or WWF, and of course, it opens just a whole world of possibilities in terms of all the individuals he could face. How about, say, like a Stone Cold Steve Austin or Rock or somebody else, right?
Start strong, of course. That is the missing ingredient here, really. But maybe they're really trying to emphasize that, look, he's going after this ECW legend, or he's going to help out his ECW legend buddy. And look, they're coming. The ECW people are coming. I don't know.
Already starting to slowly plant the seeds of an invasion. Of course, this was a little bit before that. As we know, Unforgiven 2000. It wasn't until after March, when they were purchased, of 2001, did we really start to see the fruition of the invasion angle. So even then, it was a little premature. But still, I would have had a lot more bang for my buck here with Raven, quote unquote, debuting or re-debuting under the name Raven.
Hey, Jim Ross is pissed at him too. So there's a little feud with Jim Ross too. The legend.
That's true. So we have Raven in the hardcore title. I can't wait to get to this one because it's your favorite title of all time.
Can't wait to get this one over with.
Making his entrance to the ring with a trolley full of weapons. Raven was quite successful. Literally, it's just like a shopping cart full of weapons. It was ridiculous. He won the hardcore title a record 27 times, although he reports the number is 39. Shame on us.
Right. There's probably some that just happened in a bathroom that weren't recorded at some point.
R-Truth is a 36-time 24/7 champion for the record, by the way, Corey.
What an honor both of those reigns are.
Hall of Famers for that hardcore championship. And despite an appearance as Johnny Polo, the manager of the Quebecers, that was at WrestleMania 10, by the way, this was really, he got his first in-ring experience on the grandest stage of them all at WrestleMania 17, which, by the way, the biggest and arguably the best WrestleMania of all time.
Chris's favorite, am I right?
Yes.
Your favorite?
Yeah. What about you? That's up there.
It's hard for me to take anything outside of like the first 10 because I'm running a nostalgic podcast here.
That's true.
My nostalgia goes further back.
Number 9, your favorite.
I was going to bring up number 9. Yeah,
but
right.
He did square off though in a triple threat match against two pretty big names, both figuratively and literally, in Kane and the Big Show. It's a triple threat match. Kane would ultimately win this encounter, which, again, doesn't seem to be utilizing Kane or the Big Show very well, that they're competing for the Hardcore Championship.
No, the Hardcore Championship just feels like a demotion in your WWE career. I'm sorry.
It would be for me.
I'm sure people are fans.
Do I get more money? Probably not.
You're going to get the championship of a worse thing. I don't know.
I failed to see the perk here. Could
you imagine if we got down, we could only discuss the Hardcore belt, Chris? That would be a downgrade.
Oh, boy. So if you recall, Kane kicked Raven and the Big Show off the stage, and then Kane hit a diving leg drop off the stage onto Big Show, pinned him 1, 2, 3, new hardcore champion, and apparently he's a daredevil in the process as well.
Yeah, that just kicked in. Kane the Daredevil.
He hit a triple moonsault off the stage that would make the Young Bucks jealous, and he pinned Big Show 1, 2, 3.
Of course. It does look good, but, copied many times since.
That's true.
But, it looked all right.
Have you ever heard about this? This is where it gets really weird. So that's already strange enough. That was very early into the WrestleMania card, I believe only about 45 minutes in, if I recall correctly. So it's worth noting that this show almost went off the air. I'm not joking. It came close to a disaster after Raven drove a golf cart into the electric feed box, almost cutting the broadcast feed. Here's what he told Fightful: "But I ruined the greatest spot in the history of WrestleMania." I don't know if that was the greatest spot in the history of WrestleMania, by the way,
Easy
but
turbo.
C'est la vie. We were supposed to be driving, and Big Show's choking while I was driving, and I was supposed to drive all around the building with Kane behind us in hot pursuit, which already sounds like Benny Hill. But what happened
At least
was
we get to picture that.
that's true. So what happened was there was a fence that looked like a wall fence. So I thought if I drove into it, it bounced off. It would look cool because I was getting choked by a 400-pound guy. Then I hit the fence, didn't get back anything, and I just fell off the curb. But the best part is that I came within millimeters, of turning off the power in the entire building. One of the crew members came to me and said, "Do you have any idea how close you came? You were within millimeters of running over the cables that supplied power to the entire building." So Corey, arguably the greatest WrestleMania of all time, was nearly knocked off the air within the first hour by Raven. Could you imagine the panic that would set in?
Are we supposed to believe that one plug is in charge? One little plug setup is running this whole show?
Sorry, guys, WrestleMania is canceled this year.
Someone unplug something. It's over. I don't know if I buy that.
I don't know if I buy it either. I would say if you don't have a disaster recovery plan or some kind of contingency plan in place for the grandest stage of them all, everybody deserves to be fired from your crew.
Yeah, exactly. And again, this one kind of sets the stage for golf cart hits throughout time. We're still getting them. Sammy Guevara milking the golf cart hit still to this day. So this was the most important moment in WrestleMania history. You think?
I can't believe that he's saying this is one of the biggest spots. So let's go back in time. Let's see Austin drenched in blood as he crawls up and he pushes up and he passes out in his own blood. This surpasses that. Well, that's ridiculous.
Not even close.
Yeah.
I hate these matches, or whatever. Some of them are fun, or whatever. The cameras couldn't even keep up with these guys. You couldn't even see where they were. It just seemed like a ridiculous disaster. But let's move on. I'm sure that's not the last disaster of his career. Am I right? Let's find out. Let's find out. After WrestleMania 17, Chris, Raven would become a member of the WCW, ECW alliance to try and take over the WWF during the infamous Invasion angle. Other than his turn, he wouldn't do much of significance with this group. Just before the Invasion pay-per-view in 2001, he was the victim of a squash match against Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle is undoubtedly one of the greatest wrestlers ever, and there's no shame in losing to him. That said, this was a hardcore match.
Of course.
Supposedly the very kind of match Raven is supposed to specialize in. And he got run over in 2 minutes, followed by Angle continuing the assault after the match. How could Raven even be taken seriously after this? And you wonder if Angle's taken out his long history of, I think he didn't like Raven, or Raven like pissed him off because of a crucifixion match or something. Do you know anything about this?
I do. So this was back, I believe, in about 96 or so. So, it was Raven, and it was a crucifixion of the Sandman. Kurt Angle was on commentary, and he walked out. So basically, here they have the Olympic gold medalist. And I think it may have even been 97. Yeah, and he's like, hey, I'm thinking about wrestling. After that, he's like, F you. You insulted me. I never want to talk to you again. That didn't go so well. And then Raven had to issue a public apology in the ring as well.
So he's obviously a religious man. So now here he's getting his revenge here.
I guess
beating
so.
Him at his own game.
The other thing I have to ask too is, do you think that the creative was just, listen, he's dressed in like a grunge type style. Let's just make him a hardcore champion. Let's make him a hardcore guy. I mean,
it's
obviously
possible that's as far as they thought.
Yeah, because he comes from ECW, but if you watch his matches, there's a lot of psychology behind them, and he likes to tell quite the story in terms of having it long and drawn out and a lot of character development. So he's not necessarily just quote unquote a hardcore wrestler. There's a lot more substance behind Raven.
No, I honestly do think it was kind of an automatic demotion. They were kind of like, I don't care. And, you hear a lot about him maybe not being so liked. A lot of people say that he's kind of an unlikable guy. Even people that like him,
outspoken,
him as an unlikable guy. Kind of like Kevin Nash even said, he's like, most people don't like this guy. He just comes across that way. I guess he's a smart guy, but doesn't come across well. I mean, I've also heard some nasty ass background to those eventually. But let's move on with his fruitful WWE career. Here comes the highlight. We'll call this the feud with Perry Saturn.
Reunited with one of his former flock members.
And it goes wonderfully. Here we go, Chris. Let's do it. During this time, Perry Saturn had Terry Runnels, who I do love, as his on-air manager and girlfriend.
She was great.
She was great in every iteration of her. She was a great person to have around all that time.
I agree.
Saturn was in the middle of a storyline where after taking a knock to the head, he fell in love with a mop named Moppy, which he believed was alive, similar to Wilson the volleyball in the film Castaway. Sometimes I can't believe what I'm reading. Let's move on. This storyline went over well with the fans, and it led to a face turn for Saturn. Terry Runnels, clearly not happy that Saturn was spending more of his attention on an inanimate object, told Saturn to choose between Moppy and her. When Saturn chose the mop, it infuriated her. We're both smart guys, right, Chris? Can you believe what we're reading and have and feel passion for?
I feel like I took a knock to the head after hearing this.
Yeah. This is a demotion for both of us. Anyways, all right. When Saturn chose the mop, it infuriated her. She would leave Saturn for Raven, who helped her enact vengeance on Saturn by stealing Moppy and feeding it to a wood chipper.
Oh, man. Oh, the classic wood chipper bit, huh?
Yeah, the old Fargo maneuver. As Raven called him Raiden. As Raven was feeding the mop into the wood chipper, the chipper didn't work immediately, which made for a few moments of awkwardness on television, which he kind of plays off pretty good.
Yeah, he does.
You could also hear Raven making a squealing noise as he pretended that the sound was coming from Moppy. This would be Raven's only meaningful feud during his run in WWE. How do you think he felt about this? Do you think he loved this thing, or did he know that the writing was on the wall? This was like, what is this? This is where I am.
I mean, depression, certainly a word that comes to mind that's real.
Yeah.
I feel depressed for him. I'm hearing that thinking, if that were me, I would have just walked out. I would have pulled a WCW move and said, fuck this, I'm not going to be here anymore.
Yeah, you know what, Chris? This should have been a drinking episode, because this is hard to read.
I'm sitting here drinking water, and I'm thinking this was the wrong time to drink some H2O during this, where I feel borderline brain dead during that proposed storyline. And who was the genius who came up with this, by the way?
Someone who hates him, I think.
Clearly.
Bruce Pritchard, I mean, there's people say Bruce didn't like him, and who knows?
But here's the thing. This shows the immaturity. If you don't like somebody, if they're not a fit, if they're not a cultural fit, if they're not meeting expectations, fucking fire them. Do them a favor. Don't keep them around and toy with them. That makes you a bully, basically.
Constantly, that's how they get the revenge on people throughout time on national television.
Well, remember with even Bret Hart, here's a great example, not to go back to him, but I remember he brought this up of Vince saying, so let's say you stay. I want you to lose to Shawn Michaels for the next year. He's like, well, why the fuck would I stay? Like, you're burying me for an entire year.
Yeah, good deal. Okay, not so bad.
I'm out. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, that'll do. That'll do.
So, are we going to actually watch this? The murder of
Chris, are
Moppy?
you going to make me watch this? We're not in the same city. I can't even egg your house if you make me do this.
I'm debating this highly, but I think we need to torture ourselves, subject ourselves to this terrible creative as we witness the murder of Moppy. So we're going to watch it. If you want to follow along, it's literally called Raven and Terry Reynolds Murder Moppy. That's it. There's only 1,000 views with good reason. Most people have steered clear of this disaster.
I wonder how many we're adding by advertising this travesty. God.
So are you going to count us down and we'll press play here?
This feels like the countdown to my own demise. Okay. Whatever. Okay. Ready, Chris?
Yes, let's do it.
And fans who are probably tuning out right now. I'm just kidding. You love this, right? All right. Let's do this, Chris. 3,
Car crash television.
1. Go.
Here we go. So
flapping wings. Perry Saturn's flapping his wings. That's a good start.
Terry Reynolds. Wow. She's letting it all hang out there. Oh, boy.
I love her forever.
She does not. She says bras are optional.
Exactly. Like a good career for Raven. We're not committed to it.
This is very sexually suggestive, too, because she said, "It's between my legs." And then she points down, and there's Moppy sitting there staring up at her.
There is a mop with a face on it.
And Terry's upset because Perry chose Moppy over her, and she's basically claiming you could have had us both. Raven looks like he's an auto mechanic.
He's got goggles on like the movie Can't Hardly Wait.
That's true.
Okay.
I do like the dreads, by the way. It's a different look for him.
Absolutely. No, he looks almost cool. The shirt's kind of a Hawaiian situation, though, which is
Guy Fieri would enjoy that shirt.
Yeah. Oh, he's pushing him through the wood chipper.
Okay, this is not going well. So he literally covered Moppy with duct tape. It's not going in. He's making the noises saying,
yeah. I mean, this is better than if it just went in smoothly, really. Like,
okay, now Moppy is being murdered at the hands of the wood chipper. I can't believe they filmed this live, by the way, too.
Yeah, there was an option not to do that, too.
Yeah,
right?
This is the one time where I would think, something more cinematic could be fitting.
Oh, they're going to a replay? We're going to watch the replay?
We're going to watch the replay. Moments ago on Monday Night Raw, Raven duct taped Moppy. Threw him in.
Holy hell. Do they skip the part where it doesn't work? Oh, they want to show Perry's point of view, maybe?
Yeah. I could see Vince going, "Show his face, damn it. Show his face."
Yeah. Look at this travesty.
This is even worse the second time around.
Can we go back to Terry? I want to watch this.
Perry Saturn is shocked, appalled, emotionally distraught.
This is one of those times where those people that that you tell that you do things with wrestling, they think it's stupid, and then you do this, and you're like, maybe they're right. Maybe they've been right the whole time, because this is ridiculous. Perry's selling it though.
You can't tell me you had nothing better to do with Perry Saturn, who was a great technician, a very aggressive wrestler, very believable, in great shape, and Raven, again, somebody who possessed a great character, microphone abilities, psychology. This is the best that you have for both of them?
It's just constantly wanting to bury non-WWE product, right? All the time.
It's ridiculous.
Even from this point. Yeah, well, thanks for making me do that, Chris.
If I don't get a Christmas card in the mail, I understand why.
Yeah, no, don't open any package for me for a while.
So basically, the only thing that we could say that was noteworthy and enjoyable of that was the fact Terry Reynolds was not wearing a bra. That was basically
I will admit, I will likely watch that again for that reason.
So, a year on Sunday Night Heat. The hits just keep on coming. At this point, Raven was rarely seen on television. Yeah. So you're meaning to tell me that after that amazing segment, you had nothing better to do with this man. So yes, rarely seen on television.
I do have a quick question though. Sure. You are the most committed to watching wrestling man I've probably ever met in my whole life. How many episodes in total you think of Sunday Night Heat you ever watched? You, the biggest fan on the planet. Not
joking, probably like a dozen. Ever.
A dozen. Now I guarantee that's in the upper echelon of Heat watchers. And you want to have entire storylines in that show with great guys? It's amazing.
Makes incredible. No sense. I mean, and this was also a time where it was airing at very weird times, obviously. There were some channels that got it, some that did not. This was obviously far before the days of streaming services, so you can actually put Main Event on Hulu or the WWE Network, and people could stumble across it, obviously, if they have it in the schedule. But here, I mean, you had to go out of your way to watch Sunday Night Heat, right?
I think I remember having to choose between this and Eliminate. And Eliminate won every time, if you remember Eliminate.
Barely, cool. No.
Blind Date, all those shows.
Oh, yes, sure. Yeah.
Oh, man.
See, back in these days, I probably would have tried to watch, some of the cartoons on Fox. I mean, Simpsons had gone downhill by that point, but Futurama, I think, may have still been around, and King of the Hill may have still been around. So some of those I would have watched, but
I would have chosen an infomercial over this, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, sure. I mean, anything with Billy Mays, but Sunday Night Heat just wasn't doing it for me, so he's rarely seen. Then in March of 2002, which sometimes it shocks me that he was actually around that long because things just went downhill in a hurry for him. He gets drafted to Raw. He gets drafted to Raw in the first brand extension. We remember that quite vividly. That was a big deal, but I barely remember Raven being drafted to Raw. I'm sure WWE said, within good reason, they did not want it to be remembered.
Yeah. Sounds like they're doing this on purpose, kind of.
So, it gets better. He would have another short, hardcore title run. And this was also while he was doing commentary, which, by the way, keep him there. He's great on commentary.
Exactly.
He's amazing.
Again, they don't want to focus on smart guys,
So he was doing that from time to time on Sunday Night Heat. You could have kept him there, maybe eventually moved him along on a SmackDown or Raw if he did a serviceable job. And then he had a loser leaves Raw match against Tommy Dreamer, where, of course, naturally the stipulation was if the loser loses the match, they have to go spend a year on Sunday Night Heat. I've never heard of this stipulation before. Basically, it's saying, punishment. We know you're going to lose, and we're going to punish you, but we're going to tie it into a match.
Yeah, it's like a career-ending match, but except you have to stick around for a while after and watch your career fall even further.
This is like being on life support at this point.
Yeah.
So Raven loses the match, and it's off to Sunday Night Heat for him. Ratings galore. So as bad as it was, there was some good that came out of this, Corey. It was an opportunity for Raven. He was given creative control, and justifiably so. It's not like many people are watching the show, and it was inspired by the film Seven, which I believe you've seen with Brad Pitt.
It's one of my, probably in a top 20 situation here. I love Seven and would have loved to have seen this played out.
Yeah, so a great psychological drama. I enjoyed it too, where he would really show examples of people's weaknesses and compare them to the 7 deadly sins. So already I'm very intrigued by this. He was essentially the puppet master, and he was utilizing Sunday Night Heat as his personal playground, which, again, to put a pause on that for a second, bravo. That's all from Raven, 100%.
Yeah, of course. He's playing the John Doe character from Seven. That, had I known that was going on, I might have actually watched an episode of Heat, to be honest. But you don't even know, because it's not being referenced on the good shows anyway, so who's watching that anyway?
So one of the most notable segments, by the way, too, was during a sketch and catering where he offered a man $500 to eat a sandwich that he had just stood on. So the guy named Mike accepted the challenge, ate the sandwich, and then Raven proclaimed that this showed greed, which, again, if you've watched the movie Seven, really ties in quite nicely.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool. Looking forward to the rest.
Yeah, and where does it go from here? Well, guess what? It wasn't long before this storyline was aborted, as WWE management felt that, quote, it hadn't gotten over well enough on fucking Sunday Night Heat.
Shocker. You knew that was going to happen.
That's horrible feedback. So you're meaning to tell me that Vince or Bruce or whoever was in charge of this said, you know what, Raven, even though nobody really watches the show, even though it's a bit of a throwaway and you're owning it, it's not really getting over. What?
Yeah. Like, did anything get over ever in the history of that program?
That's one of the only things I remember about Sunday Night Heat was this.
Really? So
yeah.
You actually do have memories of this.
I actually do, because I remember years later watching segments, but at the time catching a few, and I always enjoyed Raven. I thought, good for him. He's doing something. Basically, he's trying to make the best of a shitty situation. That's the way I saw it at the time and still to this day.
I mean, even that storyline. Look, he's on Raw and he has a storyline with a mop. He goes over here and he has an actual storyline that I would watch but missed because you couldn't pay me to tune into that program. So poorly managed. This is the problem with people not being able to, wrestlers not being able to script their own stuff.
Of course.
Anymore. Had he been in control on the right show, you never know what would happen.
Well, we all know it's for an audience of one, and I'm willing to bet Vince has never seen the movie Seven before.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet that as well.
Blah, what's this shit? The only movie I saw recently was Field of Dreams.
No holds barred.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. Yeah, anything the WWE produced, he would have seen. Yeah, See No Evil, greatest movie of all time.
Yeah, you can tell by watching those movies that he's not actively watching any other movies.
No, for sure. He's isolated in his own bubble, that's for sure.
Indeed.
So the return to Raw, an eventual release from WWE. So although he won his way back to the Raw roster, Raven would lose to Jeff Hardy in a Royal Rumble qualifier match, in which this would be his final match in WWE. I did watch this match, and I was disappointed because I did not want Raven to lose. Of course, I didn't want Jeff to lose either, but I knew the ramifications here. So Raven was then released from the promotion the following week. That was January 20th, 2003. Following his departure from WWE, he joined TNA, Total Nonstop Action, which somehow has come up in conversation multiple times over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, almost weekly.
Yeah. We're going to have to touch on that promotion at some point. I know it very, very well, it's definitely worth it because there's a lot of highs and even more lows.
Yeah, I mean, the match we're about to talk about is good.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
It's not too bad. So he found a lot of success there, actually. He won the NWA Heavyweight Championship, which I remember watching live on pay-per-view. It was a big deal. He also formed a faction called The Gathering, which did include CM Punk. And he had some feuds with top stars such as Jeff Jarrett, Abyss, and Rhino. He was also part of, and I did not like this storyline, EV 2.0, which essentially consisted of former ECW wrestlers. So they were just going back to the wishing well and saying, well, if it worked before, it'll work again. So they had Rob Van Dam, Tommy Dreamer, Mick Foley, Stevie Richards, Rhino, Brother Devon, Al Snow, and now he's basically semi-retired at this point, only working a handful of matches per year. But again, what I tend to vividly recall was the pay-per-view where he captured the NWA Heavyweight Championship. It was Slammiversary 2005. It was King of the Mountain, and it featured some great names. AJ Styles, Monty Brown, highly underappreciated. Abyss and Sean Waltman. For anybody who doesn't know what King of the Mountain is, it's very convoluted. If I recall correctly, off the top of my head, I think you have to defeat an opponent by either pinfall or submission just to earn a chance to win. The person that you pin or submit spends time in a penalty box, and then once you defeat an opponent, you climb the ladder. That's the stupidest concept I've ever heard for a match.
It's kind of it's like a ladder match going backwards and a elimination chamber match going backwards.
Yeah,
at the same time.
It's almost as though somebody just took some acid, watched some hockey, watched the elimination chamber, and said, "Ooh, there you go."
I like a good high concept match. At least it was a little different, but
it was. At least
there's a lot going on, and people were being released out of the boxes.
At least it wasn't the reverse battle royal. We'll cover that one.
I've been thinking about that today. I want that to happen one day.
Jesus, that was so bad. It was voted like worst match of the year. It's like, why are people out of the ring, climbing into the ring, and then getting thrown out of the ring? It feels like a Jerry Seinfeld bit. Well, he's in the ring, and then out of the ring. Yeah, so it's bizarre. So obviously, why did it not work out for Raven and WWE? You're going to lay it on us, but I'm sure that we can break that down already.
I think you might know already at this point. But when Scott Levy returned to the WWE as Raven in the year 2000, it was his opportunity to break into the top echelon of performers in the company. His momentum, his creative ideas, and passion were flowing, but ultimately none of that mattered.
Nope.
Speaking with title match wrestling, Raven reflected on this time of his career.
Fucking sucked. That's all I can say.
Yeah. We'll shorten this to, I was plenty sober when I got back to the WWE, and I thought it was my time, but it wasn't. Unfortunately, sobriety doesn't officially equal WWE success.
No, it does not.
Shockingly enough. Levy continued, the locker room was so set that if you're not a WWE guy, you haven't done anything. True. In other words, none of Raven's accolades in ECW and WCW mattered. I think they didn't want to use me in a prominent role. No. That remains true, like forever, with everybody. It's ridiculous, and I think that's to their loss, because there's so much stuff they could have done with people if it wasn't all about vengeance and ego.
It is to their detriment. Weeks ago, we covered infamously Sting, and there's a prime example of that too. Is the face of a promotion, bring him over and have him lose in his debut match on the grandest stage of them all. It's like, how the hell did you get that wrong over and over again?
That's the ultimate example, I guess. That's over Raven. I'd say the Sting one is the biggest. That's a big flub right there. So after talking to Michael Hayes, Johnny Polo here, Raven says when he's talking to Michael Hayes in private, he realized Vince McMahon's true feelings about him back in the WWE. Michael Hayes said that he was in a booking meeting with Vince, who said, "Who the fuck hired Raven?"
Jesus.
Which I actually think, I've heard multiple versions of this, but he actually says, "Who the fuck hired Johnny Polo?"
Oh my God.
Indicating that he really basically didn't have an idea that he had left and gone elsewhere and done well for himself in wrestling itself.
Well, remember, if you go somewhere else, like John Morrison's a great example right now. John Morrison went off to Lucha Underground, Impact, all these promotions around the world, was a big success. He comes back, he's paired with The Miz again. That's it.
Yeah, like what a luxury, if you want to call it that, for this man to own this company and be the leader of the concept of a professional sport or whatever, and not even have to take any interest
No.
in anyone else's version of it. That he
No.
could be in this tiny bubble or this huge bubble and never financially need to look at aspects of other places. He's just going to do it here blindly and rely on other people to at least learn these things for him.
I would pay
Ridiculous.
such a large sum of cash to see Vince McMahon sit and watch AEW or any other promotion for an entire episode just to hear his commentary. Well, who's this guy? What does he do? Why is Jim Ross
Yeah.
there? Who's that? Tony
Yeah.
Schiavone. Like, I just love to hear that. I think he would just be so out of his element.
You're right. You hear Jim Ross, right now he gets a little flack for messing up guys' names in AEW,
Who
but
cares?
you're right. You're right. Vince would have no clue, not even a clue of what was going on.
Who's that guy wearing the mask? What the fuck's going on around here? Like, he would lose it.
When did Dean Ambrose get here? What's going on?
I mean, Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose is over. What the fuck's going on?
Yeah, exactly. Is that Stardust? Stardust
Oh,
let me in here for
Jesus.
some reason. Anyways. So Raven takes this as the way Hayes intimated it was that Vince was like, what the fuck are we hiring him for?
Ugh.
Which, it was a kick to the stomach for Raven for sure.
Of course.
But he says it didn't shake him, but I mean, that would have shaken me. The
Yeah, I would have
head
been
guy.
done.
Yeah, exactly. I would have not bothered trying, I think, is probably how I'm hardwired, and a lot of people would be
Yeah,
too,
so
but-
the man that oversees the entire company is asking why the fuck I'm there. I'm basically saying I'm
Yeah.
going on to Indeed at this point and looking for a new job.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think Michael Hayes' intentions were in telling him that? Even
I
Or
don't
is that just
know.
like, that's maybe something you'd keep to yourself, or maybe he's trying to help him. I don't know.
He's a pretty honest guy, as we know, and if you want to see the other side of him, listen to the plane ride from hell.
Episode, what do you think? 5? Yeah, it's a good one. That's a good one too. Raven says, nothing shook my confidence. He admits I was too arrogant. Look, I knew I had the goods. I really believe that. But my heart was already broken when I realized I wasn't going to be used right. What made the Raven character so successful in ECW was Raven's ability to play mind games with his opponents,
Yes,
such as the time that he brainwashed the Sandman's son against him.
amazing storyline.
Yeah, all of those ECW storylines were the real deal. His feud with Tommy Dreamer was incredibly emotional too, which was mainly down to him being allowed to have time on the mic. He's considered one of the best talkers in the industry for a reason. He was incredible at using words to get the crowd to feel something, whether it be hating him and getting them behind his opponent or loving him as a good guy. And WWE seemed to ignore all of this.
Yes.
They threw him into a team with Taz simply because they are former ECW guys, despite them hardly interacting during their time together in ECW. He was put in the hardcore division, which we both agreed is trash. Again, because of Vince McMahon's view of ECW wrestlers all being hardcore guys. That's all Vince knows about the concept.
That's true. Imagine showing him a match between like Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, any of those guys, and saying, "What? They were over there." Huh?
Yeah, exactly. He probably had no idea. Although this was quite entertaining at times, he didn't have any meaningful feuds. He was then deemed a joke when put in a storyline with Perry Saturn and Moppy.
Jesus.
I hope this is the last podcast ever, or possibly last broadcasting situation ever in my life where I have to say the word Moppy multiple times.
God, I hope so. I'm sure we can collectively agree, Corey, that Raven's WWE tenure was a complete and utter letdown.
Yeah.
And that it seems how poorly he was utilized and how little he was featured. But based on Raven's incredible mind for the industry, one would feel as though he would be better suited for a creative role within the company. But apparently, he actually refused offers on multiple occasions. Whether this is true or not remains to be seen, but I'll take his word for it. But he did not want to be a cog. And I get this line that he said. I remember reading it. Furthermore, he didn't want to see, quote, great ideas go unused since it would be so taxing to him emotionally.
That's fair. Look, his great 7 idea doesn't get used. That how would you? He has a great idea and it gets thrown in the trash. Why would you want to go work for people who are not going to use these intelligent ideas, but use the stupid goddamn mop storyline?
It's ridiculous. I've heard Chris Jericho speak about at length, Jim Ross, others, where if he was hungry, being Vince McMahon, he wouldn't even listen to your idea no matter how good it was. You'd have to ask his assistant.
If he was hungry?
Yeah, because if he was hungry, he wouldn't pay attention to you. Like it's that bizarre. Like literally, it's Willy Wonka in his mind.
Yeah, exactly. There's like a whole world there that when the top comes crashing down, as inevitably it has to, they're all going to kind of be released and be like, where am I? What is this world? What, they're going to be just roaming around like people just let out of a camp and just be like, what is the world?
That's what I mean. It feels like Willy Wonka and you're in his chocolate factory and nothing makes sense. Like, why is there a giant blueberry here? Because it can be.
Yeah. Yowzers. Well,
final thoughts on Raven, by the way. Like,
good God, I don't know. I mean, Raven as the human. Well, I've heard both sides to this story too. So I was about to say Raven as a human, great guy, but I've heard some things that probably in the year 2020 would not be going down so edibly.
That's not good.
But alas, clearly a guy who's able to do multiple different things and worked, and if it didn't work out in WWE, that does not negate an entire career elsewhere.
What about me? What about Raven? Well, quote the Raven nevermore. This concludes another episode of the Pro Wrestling Stories podcast. Listen and subscribe to future episodes wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow Pro Wrestling Stories on Facebook at Pro Wrestling Stories and Twitter at PWS_official.
Is there a moppy shirt?
No. And
I'm starting to get into this now.
Hope to God there's not. You can actually have a moppy shirt to wipe up the tears of Raven. How about that?
There you go. There's a design in there somewhere.
I
you
think
designed
so.
that shirt for us, 8% off your order.
It's like, but they could use 10 using the promo code podcast. Shut up, Chris. Don't tell them that. So stop by pwstees.com today. Check out the entire collection. Podcast for 10% off your order. Leave us a review. You could win said t-shirt from pwstees.com. I'm Chris Toplack. He's Corey Rivard. Happy trails to you until we meet again.